Okay, so this is the big question. I get this every day, multiple times a day. What resource platform should I be using? Should I be using Boom Learning or should I be using Google Classroom? And the simple answer is both. You don't need to decide. Many districts want us to use Google Classroom as the platform that we're sending out the information to our kids. But if I had to pick, especially during distance learning, I would choose Boom. And there's a couple of reasons why. Now, I hate choosing one over the other, but I just feel like there are a lot of reasons why Boom works great during distance learning. Number one, the kids love it. It feels like a video game. They click, ding. Who doesn't like to be given that little chip every time you get something right? So kids really like Boom. So that's number one. You've already gone over the first hurdle. They want to use the decks. Number two, it's really easy to sign in on Boom. This has been a struggle for a lot of parents to try to figure out, what email am I using to sign into Google Classroom? A lot of parents are using their own email. They struggle with that long password and username. Boom, you can decide what the username is and you can decide on the password. So during distance learning last year, what I did was I changed all the passwords so they were all the same. So if a parent called me up and said, I can't remember Jaden's password, I knew without looking it up. And that's a real benefit when it comes to Boom. Changing the username, changing the password gives you control because you know your kids best and you know what will work for them best. My next reason for loving Boom during distance learning, you can use it on Zoom. If you go and you change one of your students and you give them the control, they can actually click the correct answer. So you can kind of go down a Congo line, go through the Zoom. It takes a minute, right, to change out all the kids, but they can access Boom on Zoom. So that's a huge piece. The most important piece for me on deciding what platform, Boom wins hands down because it gives you the reports feature. You get that data. And now more than ever, having that data is so crucial because we're not in the classroom. We're not able to sit one-on-one with a child. So if you can send out a Boom deck and then you can look at the data, not only are you going to know the accuracy on each of those skills, but you can hold those kids and the parents accountable because you can see when the kids have logged on. With Google, they may not have submitted it, so you don't know, maybe they did do the work, they just haven't submitted it yet. On Boom, they can't fool you. You can look and you can call up, I always call on Jaden, but Jaden's mom and say, I noticed Jaden hasn't logged in for 2 weeks. What's going on? You need to get him in there and get him working. So that accountability piece for the parents is huge because let's face it, we all struggled with that last time. But it also gives you the data. Halfway through distance learning last time, my school district decided they wanted data. They wanted to show progress monitoring, as if it wasn't hard enough, right? But with the data, I was like, got it. I can show you exactly how they're progressing. That is really, really huge, like really huge. The other reason that I really like Boom, especially if you're going to be doing remote or a hybrid, is that Boom offers that sound, right? That sound is so easy for kids. If your kids have special needs, if your kids are English language learners, and you can't tell them that that's a picture of a cob when you're trying to determine the ending sound, you have that built into Boom. So these are the things that make it easier when you're not right next to the child. If you're in the classroom, the child can say, what is this a picture of? Oh, that's a rug. But at home, they can't do that unless they're using Boom. And then they just click the icon and they hear it's a rug. So you know you're actually assessing the skill and not their vocabulary or the accuracy of the picture. That is huge. Another reason I love Boom for distance learning is that it works on all kinds of devices. In the classroom, we know our kids are maybe using Chromebooks, or we know they're using iPads. When they're at home, we really don't know what device they're using. Are they using a desktop, a laptop, a Chromebook, an iPad? What are they using? Well, with Boom, it works just as easily on an iPad as it does on a Chromebook. So on the Chromebook, you're going to use the site, right? You're going to go to boomlearning.com. On the iPad, you just download the free app and they can find it on their screen, click it, and they're ready to go. Now, in full disclosure, Google Classroom does work on iPads. It's a little bit trickier. You need to download 2 different apps on it, and it can be glitchy. But Boom works great. Regardless of what device they're using at home, Boom is going to work. So my final reason to use Boom over Google, and I still love Google, don't get me wrong, I love Google. Another reason why I really like Boom is that it works through Google. You can assign it through Google. So if your district wants you to use Google Classroom, then you can just use either the FastPin or the Hyperlink Play. And the kids can access their decks through their Google Classroom account. But my all-time top reason for choosing Boom over Google is that kids love Boom. So especially at home, right? It's so hard to get them engaged and get them learning. We're not there. All those tricks and strategies that we use in the classroom, we can't use because they're not there. But with Boom, it's engaging. It's easy for parents. The kids want to do it. So if pushed, and trust me, you guys have been pushing me to decide, I really have to go with Boom on this. Boom works great, and there are no downsides as far as I can see, except one little downside. Boom costs money, right? You've got to pay $15 a year, and honestly, that's the one that I would go with if you're using it right now for the first time. It's $15. You're going to get all those features that I said, especially the reports, and you can add up to 50 kids. Now, most of us are not going to have 50 kids. If you're a specialist, science, or whatever, you might want to go up to the next level so that you can have 200. But for the average teacher, 50 kids is more than enough. That's the only downside. But $15 to give you back your weekends, to give you the peace of mind that you know that your kids are working, that you can see it and you can make those decisions about next steps, totally worth it. So there you go. There's my top pick for remote learning. It really is Boom. But that doesn't mean I don't love Google. I do love you, Google. But try them both. There's no reason why you can't use both. I use both all the time. I hope that helps.